open up the floor to questions from the audience. If we want to first start off, I think our current Vice President for Finance, Mr. Evan Osheroff, might have a question or two. And the microphone's down here. I can move it up a little bit closer, but if people could come down, maybe line up in a queue here on the side. That's fine.
So both of you guys, you've seen that we have a lot of groups that, we have some groups that get tens of thousands of dollars and only have 30 or 40 members. And then we have groups that get $500 or $1,000 and might have 100 or 200 members. So we have, a lot of disparity there. So as you guys VPF next year, what do you think defines an organization's budget? How do you decide as VPF and as chair of the committee what a group's budget should be?
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, let's just start with Nara.
Okay, so basically, usually the size of an organization's budget is determined a lot by what type of organization that they are. So in the example that you cited where an organization might have a $50,000 budget and 30 members, it's probably a sports organization. Unfortunately, on the one hand, there's not a whole lot that we can do in terms of the fact that club sports are very expensive. And $50,000 may sound like a lot for such a small organization, but those students usually pay sometimes as much as $200 to $300 in dues just to be a part of that organization. So JFC's philosophy for that is that we try to subsidize their costs. We're obviously not paying for everything because a lot of what they do is travel, and we feel like students should be paying some money out of pocket if they're staying in a hotel room every weekend. On the other hand, there are organizations that have a $5,000 budget and they have 100 members, and those are probably cultural or social organizations. And the good thing about those organizations is they benefit a lot of students. They hold events all the time that are open to the entire campus. So even though they have small budgets, what happens with those organizations is that they're usually rewarded in terms of their budgets grow a lot from year to year. We usually try to give them at least a 10% increase if we feel that they have been expanding their programs. And they usually try to add about one event per year. Whereas the sports organizations, for example, they really just stay on par from year to year. So there really isn't a whole lot that we can do to change that. The most important thing is that we're consistent across the board. So we do try to, when we allocate money to these sports organizations, we do look at them comparatively and say, well, baseball right now is at $20,000, but soccer is at $50,000. That's not fair. So we try to keep them on an even level. Okay, and Robert?
Okay, yeah, so regarding your two examples that you gave, a $50,000 budget with 20 members, so the first was a sports organization, but another example I can think of is the recently founded spring break organizations. And I really feel that the student body vice president of finance should really be working with those organizations to manage what is in their budget, how many games they have if it's a sports organization, or how many trips they go on if it's a spring break organization. And if they are trying to expand their organization and the JFC can't keep up with it, then that's something that needs to be dealt with. And like finding alternative grants, finding other sources of funding that they can go to, but that'd be great. Oh yeah, the other example you cited was a $50,000 or $5,000 organization with 100 members, and we do realize that they are a crucial part of Carnegie Mellon, and they do events on campus that are open to the entire campus, but they're relatively smaller events in general. I mean, I'm just thinking of like Spring Carnival versus like a smaller organization's like food event. Okay. But it's really important that we go on a case-by-case basis for each organization, because they may need something that is.
And then I was going to ask you asked it of Nara, so I guess I'll ask it of you. Okay. Of everything I did or didn't do in this past year, what's one thing? Not what I did worst. what's one thing you would do, well, just one thing, the most important thing, yeah, that I would do differently?
Okay, if I were Evan, what would I do differently?
You were here for most of this year, so of everything that we went through, the audit, assigning groups, going through the process, allocations, funding eligibility, informing groups, what's the one thing you would do differently to make the process next year better?
Okay, the first thing that hit me was the audit. Now we did perform a full audit of the organizations. Well, Evan did, and it was. I really feel that it could be more in depth if we were to maybe just alphabetize all of the organizations and do a third of them every year, so that each organization gets audited every 3 years. That gives them a chance to get their budget together if it isn't in line. They have 2 more years, and also that students will be there for at least one audit, so they can educate their new members about the audit. But yeah, also if it's every 3 years and you have a smaller portion of organizations, you can go much more in depth, get a better understanding, and find out if they're being financially responsible.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Evan. Go ahead.